Have you ever wondered what happened to the stores we once knew and loved? Let's take a look at how they rose to fame and why they disappeared from our lives. Ready? Radio Shack. Before Amazon, before Best Buy, there was a magical place for anyone who loved electronics where every shelf was filled with possibility. The legendary Radio Shack.
Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Whether you were a teen in the 80s building your first set of stereo speakers or just curious about the latest gadgets, this store had something for everyone. In the 1970s, while the world was fascinated with the space race and personal computers were just beginning to appear, Radio Shack brought technology straight into the heart of suburban America. This store began way back in 1921 as a small radio supply shop. Over the decades, it grew into the go-to place for tech lovers, offering everything from circuit boards and resistors to walkie-talkies and digital watches. Boy, I miss those days. If you ask me, this store was simply unforgettable. By the 1980s, Radio Shack had become a hangout. People spent hours exploring its shelves. If you grew up in that era, chances are you proudly built something using a Radio Shack kit. Even if it didn't always work, the fun and the learning were worth every minute. And who could forget the catalogs, the electronics toy section alone? Oh, those science kits would make any kid's eyes light up. But as time passed and online shopping took over, things started to change. Big box retailers and digital stores made it harder for Radio Shack to compete. After several attempts to stay afloat, the company declared bankruptcy in 2017. Still, the story isn't over everywhere. While it's no longer a major player in the US, Radio Shack continues to operate in places like Latin America and the Caribbean, now managed by the Unicommer Group. Did you miss it too? Please comment on your favorite memories of the store. Blockbuster, the best place to be on Friday nights in the 80s and 90s. For many families, that magic began with a visit to Blockbuster. Founded in 1985, this iconic video rental chain quickly became the go-to destination for home entertainment. With stores in neighborhoods all across the U.S. and beyond, it became a weekly tradition for millions. When you walked through the doors, you saw rows of blue and yellow shelves filled with all kinds of movies. Whether you wanted a scary movie, a funny one, or the newest big release, there was always something to find. And let's be honest, half the fun was spending forever trying to decide what to watch. Who else remembers the thrill of grabbing the very last copy of a popular title just before someone else reached for it? But it wasn't just about movies. Blockbuster was also a paradise for gamers. Rows of video games lined the shelves, ready to be taken home for the weekend. Choosing what to play was just as exciting as playing it. That feeling of roaming the aisles, clutching a DVD, snacks in hand, and debating over the weekend's movie pick. That was the classic Friday night ritual of the 90s. As time went on, things began to change. With the rise of streaming services like Netflix, it became easier to watch movies from home with just a click. Slowly, the need for physical rentals faded. Blockbuster tried to adapt, but by 2010 the company filed for bankruptcy and most of its stores closed. Still, not all is lost. Did you know there's one last Blockbuster still open in Bend, Oregon? Pretty cool, right? Kmart. Do you remember this iconic retail giant? Before Target became trendy and Walmart took over the suburbs, there was Kmart, the place where America shopped. For decades, especially through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, Kmart was more than just a store. It was part of our everyday lives. Founded in 1962, Kmart quickly became known as the place where you could buy almost anything: clothes, toys, kitchen items, electronics, all at low prices. If you needed it, Kmart had it. One thing that made the store really special was the legendary blue light special. Who could forget? When a blue light started flashing in some part of the store, It meant a surprise sale was happening, and shoppers would rush over to grab the deal. It was exciting, spontaneous, and totally unique. Kmart also partnered with the designers and celebrities to offer items you couldn't find anywhere else. And for kids, the store was pure magic. The toy aisle was packed with action figures, Barbie dolls, board games, and Hot Wheels, a wonderland where birthdays and holidays came to life. But as shopping habits changed and competition grew, Kmart started to fade. Walmart, Target, and online shopping took over. Most stores closed, and now only a few remain, small reminders of what it used to be. Toys R Us. For kids, this store was a dream come true, like stepping into a wonderland made just for us. For many, it was the closest thing to Disney World in their own neighborhood. Founded in 1948, the store grew to become the biggest toy chain in the world, turning childhood wishes into reality. From dolls and bikes to action figures and video games, this place had everything. Just walking in and seeing rows and rows of colorful toys was enough to make any child's eyes light up. And who could forget that catchy jingle we all sang along with?
I don't want to grow up, don't want to grow up.
The store had a way of making everything feel bigger and more exciting. Barbie had her own aisle. Video games were kept behind glass, and you had to grab those yellow cards to buy a new Nintendo game. Anyone else remember that? It was a place full of magic, fun, and unforgettable moments. But like many stores from the past, Toys R Us faced tough times. Big competitors and the rise of online shopping made it harder to survive. In 2017, the company filed for bankruptcy, and by 2018, the last U.S. stores had closed. It was the end of an era for millions who grew up wandering those aisles. Even though the stores are gone, the memories we made there will always stay with us. Woolworths. So many good memories of grabbing a quick meal there. Woolworths is one of those stores people still talk about with a smile. It was one of the first big department stores in the U.S. and helped create the idea of the five and dime store, where you could buy all kinds of things for just a few cents. Opened in 1879 by Frank Winfield Woolworth, it quickly became a favorite across the country. You could find almost anything there: kitchen supplies, toys, clothes, all at prices that families could afford. And who could forget the smell of fresh popcorn or the famous lunch counters where you could grab a soda or a simple meal while shopping? That delicious smell filled the store and made the whole experience even better. For decades, Woolworths was part of daily life. Parents would shop while kids ran off to look at the toys, and during the holidays, the decorations in the windows were magical and brought in crowds every year. It felt warm, friendly, and full of life. But as shopping habits changed and new stores appeared, Woolworths had a hard time keeping up. In 1997, after more than 100 years in business, the company closed its last stores in the U.S., marking the end of a retail legend. KB Toys? KB Toys was one of those fun surprises you'd stumble upon while walking through the mall. It started way back in 1922 as a small toy distributor, and over time it became one of the biggest toy store chains in the U.S. If you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, just spotting the red and white sign could make your day. Unlike giant stores like Toys R Us, KB Toys was smaller, but that's part of what made it feel special. The shelves were packed from top to bottom with toys of every kind: action figures, dolls, games, and the coolest new gadgets. Every bit of space was filled, and it felt like there was something new to discover around every corner. One of the best parts, the big bins filled with discounted toys. You never knew what you'd find. Maybe a great deal. Maybe that one toy you couldn't find anywhere else. A lot of people still remember digging through those bins for hidden treasures. And yes, who could forget that squeaky little dog toy that barked non-stop? Sadly, after trying to make a comeback, KB Toys closed its last stores in 2009. It was the end of a store that gave so many kids joy. Service merchandise. Founded in 1934 by Harry Zimmerman as a small jewelry shop, it eventually grew into a chain that sold just about everything: appliances, electronics, furniture, toys, and more. What made this store different was its setup. Instead of picking up items right off the shelf, customers walked through a showroom to see the products on display. Then they filled out an order form, and the items were brought out from the back. No need to carry heavy boxes around. It was a fun and efficient way to shop, almost like a real-life version of online shopping before the internet. And remember the conveyor belt? Watching your item appear from that hidden back room was always exciting. Service merchandise was also loved for its catalogs. Families would spend hours flipping through the pages, circling their favorite things, especially around the holidays. It was the perfect way to make a wish list for Christmas or birthdays. The catalogs were packed with fun toys, cool gadgets, and great gift ideas. Unfortunately, as shopping habits changed and competition grew, the company faced tough times. In 2002, it closed its last stores, ending a shopping tradition that many still remember with a smile. Did you ever circle your favorite toys in the catalog or wait by the belt for your box to arrive? Let us know your memories. J.C. Penney. J.C. Penney was once one of the biggest names in American shopping. Founded in 1902, it became a favorite place for families to buy clothes, furniture, and more, all at prices people could afford. Just like Montgomery Ward, its catalog was a regular sight in many homes, especially around the holidays. For many, going to J.C. Penney was a family tradition. Do you remember those big sales when your parents took you to pick out clothes for school or gifts for Christmas? The stores were usually big and often served as main spots in shopping malls, helping define what retail looked like for decades. While some stores are still open today, many locations have closed, and the company is not as strong as it once was. Today we look back at some unforgettable stores. Shopping back then wasn't just about buying, it was an experience. If you missed it, you really missed out.